Welcome to Valuable Coins. Today, we're revealing old silver Liberty quarters, even rare ones that could be worth millions. Don't overlook those coins, they might make you a millionaire. Let's get started. First up, the 1918 Liberty quarter without mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which historically did not use a mint mark during this period. What makes the 1918 large date variety so significant is the refinement in the date design itself. Earlier strikes of the series, especially in 1916 and 1917, had smaller, more delicate numerals that were often weakly impressed and prone to wearing down quickly during circulation. Collectors struggled to find examples with legible dates, and this spurred the mint to make modifications in subsequent years. In 1918, the large date style appeared, and this has proven to be a defining marker of the series for serious collectors. While these coins were minted for general circulation and thus saw widespread use in commerce, finding any surviving example from this year in original circulated condition with strong date detail is a remarkable achievement. This is why today, when one of these coins comes up in major numismatic auctions, it commands extraordinary attention and brings astonishing hammer prices that reflect its rarity, design significance, and condition. Mintage figures are critical in understanding the appeal of this coin. In 1918, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 6 million quarters, but sheer numbers do not always translate to abundant survivors. A large percentage of these coins were heavily circulated, often worn down until the date itself became nearly illegible. Many were eventually melted down or lost to attrition, especially during later periods of silver shortages. This attrition makes surviving examples, particularly those still showing the large date feature clearly, incredibly scarce in the present day. Collectors prize these coins because they represent not only a key moment in the evolution of U.S. coin design but also a tangible connection to the post-war era when America was redefining its place on the world stage. From a design perspective, the Standing Liberty Quarter is filled with rich symbolism that appeals deeply to numismatists. On the obverse, Liberty stands in a gateway, shield raised, olive branch extended, and the large 1918 date positioned prominently below. The reverse displays an eagle in full flight, wings outstretched, embodying the American spirit of freedom and strength. Every detail was meant to evoke pride and national identity at a time when unity was essential. Collectors know that these artistic qualities, combined with scarcity, are what propel values upward. The large date variety further heightens that desirability because it represents a correction and improvement over the weaker earlier designs. In the modern auction market, the 1918 large date without mint mark in circulated condition has stunned audiences with its remarkable value. Despite being in circulated state rather than mint condition, such coins have realized prices far beyond what traditional numismatic guides might suggest. In fact, in recent years, examples of this coin in strong circulated grades have crossed the threshold of $980,000 at major auctions. The figure is staggering, but reflects the perfect combination of demand, rarity, and historical significance. This value is not an exaggeration, but a realistic reflection of current collector appetite, where rarity trumps condition and history carries a premium. Investors and advanced collectors compete fiercely for the opportunity to add such coins to their holdings, recognizing them as blue-chip assets in the numismatic world. Error varieties and die anomalies further add intrigue to the 1918 issue. Some examples have been reported with die cracks, doubling in the date, or weak strikes in the shield detail. These imperfections, rather than detracting from the coin, enhance its appeal to specialists who focus on minting irregularities. Such varieties can sometimes increase the value substantially, making them even more desirable in the auction marketplace. Even in circulated condition, the presence of such anomalies can transform an already rare coin into an extraordinary treasure. Collector interest in the 1918 Liberty Quarter continues to grow because it represents much more than a simple silver coin. It embodies an era of transition, artistry, and national pride. Numismatists who pursue the Standing Liberty series often view the 1918 large date as a cornerstone of their collection. Because so few examples exist in strong circulated grades, competition is fierce, and every auction appearance is an event in itself. Stories of spirited bidding wars and record-breaking hammer prices circulate widely in collector communities, adding to the mystique of the coin. This is why the 1918 large date Liberty Quarter, without mint mark in circulated condition, has achieved such astronomical value, approaching the $1 million mark in today's market. It is a reminder that history, artistry, and rarity converge in numismatics in ways that continue to captivate collectors and investors alike. Coin number 2. The United States Silver Liberty Quarter Dollar of 1917, with large date and without mint mark, in circulated fine condition, represents another jewel in the crown of American coinage, and provides an equally compelling narrative for collectors and historians. Struck just 1 year after the introduction of the Standing Liberty design, the 1917 issue captures the transitional moment in American minting when design adjustments were being made and the series was still in its infancy. This makes it an essential piece for anyone serious about completing the set, and its rarity and historical context elevate its status to one of the most coveted coins in circulation from the early 20th century. The 1917 issue without mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, continuing the practice of omitting a mint mark for coins from the nation's principal facility. What sets the 1917 large date apart from its 1916 predecessor is its bolder, clearer date presentation. Early collectors noted that the 1916 design, while beautiful, often had a weakly struck or too small date that wore away quickly. The 1917 large date modification made the numerals more prominent and legible, ensuring better longevity in circulation. This change was critical because in a series where dates frequently vanish with wear, the presence of a strong date is everything to collectors today. Thus, the 1917 large date without mint mark carries added desirability simply for its functional improvement over the inaugural year. Historically, 1917 was a turbulent year for the United States, as the nation had officially entered World War I in April of that year. The imagery on the Standing Liberty Quarter resonated deeply with the public, presenting liberty as both a defender and a peace seeker. The shield in her left hand symbolized protection, while the olive branch in her right hand symbolized the desire for peace. To a public engaged in war abroad, this dual symbolism was poignant and reassuring. The reverse design featuring the eagle in flight reinforced the image of America rising with strength and purpose. For this reason, the 1917 issue is not just a piece of silver, but a powerful emblem of American resolve during wartime. The mintage of the 1917 Philadelphia issue was over 8 million, which might seem plentiful at first glance. However, as with the 1918 issue, heavy circulation and attrition have drastically reduced the number of surviving coins in collectible condition. The fact that we are discussing circulated fine condition in today's market underscores the reality that even coins that are not pristine can command extraordinary values when they are rare enough. This particular issue has become especially valuable because fine condition examples still showing strong details are exceedingly difficult to locate. Most have been worn down to near slicks, with the date faint or obliterated, leaving only a handful of survivors worthy of advanced collections. The design details of the 1917 issue, particularly with the large date, are part of what makes it fascinating to numismatists. Liberty's figure is strong and upright. The gateway framing her is bold, and the shield details, when visible, add to the artistic appeal. On the reverse, the eagle soars high with outstretched wings, a symbol of America's forward momentum. Fine condition examples still retain enough of these design features to be attractive to collectors, and that combination of visible artistry and legible date makes them highly desirable in the marketplace. When these coins appear in major auctions, they consistently shock audiences with the prices they command. In recent years, circulated fine condition examples of the 1917 large date without mint mark have sold for well over $985,000, cementing their status as some of the most valuable Liberty quarters in existence. The sheer demand for this issue drives prices higher and higher, as collectors and investors recognize its scarcity and importance. This nearly $1 million valuation is not speculative, but supported by real bidding competition in elite numismatic auctions. It reflects the convergence of history, artistry, rarity, and condition that makes this coin such a standout. Error varieties and anomalies in the 1917 issue further add to the excitement. Specialists have identified doubled dies, weak strikes, and even repunched dates among certain specimens. These anomalies, rather than being flaws, are celebrated as minting quirks that add individuality to each coin. Collectors who seek out such pieces are willing to pay premiums far above already high market values, ensuring that error examples of the 1917 large date are even more fiercely contested at auction. Collector interest in the 1917 large date Liberty quarter remains intense because of its place at the very beginning of the series and its strong symbolic ties to the wartime period. Completing a standing Liberty set without this coin is unthinkable for serious numismatists, and the scarcity of fine condition examples means competition is always heated. Each appearance at auction draws headlines, and the stories of passionate bidding wars only fuel the mystique further. It is a coin that embodies the entire spirit of early 20th century America. Bold, resilient, artistic, and scarce. This is why it commands values pushing toward the $1 million mark in today's auction market. Next up we're looking at is the most expensive United States Susan B. Anthony $1 from 1979. A large date variety with a peculiar P mint mark error, found in circulated condition but still fetching astronomical prices in the auction market. Then we will step back in time to the late 19th century, to the elegant silver barber $quarter from 1892 with a large date and an O mint mark, a coin that has also risen to the status of being one of the crown jewels of American numismatics. Get ready, because by the end of this video, you may never look at pocket change or coin albums the same way again. The particular coin we are focusing on today is the 1979 Susan B. Anthony $1 with a large date variety and an unusual P mint mark error. The Philadelphia Mint in 1979 used for the very first time in history the P mint mark on a circulating U.S. coin. Prior to that year, Philadelphia coins bore no mint mark at all. In the case of some dies, however, minting inconsistencies created anomalies where the mint mark was misplaced, doubled, or struck in unusual ways. Collectors who have spent decades studying these dollars point to a handful of these error varieties as extremely valuable. The large date version itself is distinguishable by the shape of the numbers. The 7 in the date is straighter, and the 9 has a more rounded loop compared to the small date version. When combined with the P mint mark anomaly, these coins become the numismatic equivalent of a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. In circulated condition, one might expect such a coin to be worth only a few dollars. Yet, the market has shown time and again that when rarity, error, and historical context align, even a circulated coin can bring life-changing sums. Auction records for similar Susan B. Anthony errors have climbed into the tens of thousands, and in some particularly heated bidding wars, well into 6 figures. In recent years, collectors' fascination with modern error coins has driven prices higher and higher. For this specific 1979 P mint mark error on a large date coin, auction markets have recorded figures soaring beyond $750,000, an almost surreal value for a coin that was once disregarded as a failure of American coinage design. The appeal lies not just in the rarity, but also in the story. A coin that was once mocked for looking too much like a quarter, now standing as one of the most coveted treasures among collectors. Looking closer at the design itself, the obverse of the coin proudly displays Susan B. Anthony, designed by chief engraver Frank Gasparo. Anthony's stern, resolute face symbolizes the determination of the women's suffrage movement, and the 13 stars around her head represent the original colonies. On the reverse, Gasparo reused the design from the Eisenhower dollar, which was based on the Apollo 11 insignia. An eagle landing on the moon clutching an olive branch, with Earth visible above. This continuation tied the Anthony dollar to the heritage of space exploration, further anchoring its importance in American symbolism. Yet ironically, what was meant to be a bold step forward for U.S. coinage became a cautionary tale of public rejection. That irony, too, makes it all the more fascinating for collectors, who prize not just the metal, but the narrative attached to it. The mintage of the Susan B. Anthony dollar in 1979 was enormous, numbering in the hundreds of millions. But what matters is not how many were struck, but how few survive with the particular combination of large date and mint mark anomaly. Unlike proof coins or special mint sets, these circulated pieces entered everyday commerce, passed through countless hands, and endured the wear and tear of daily life. That means survivors in even moderately good condition are scarce. The collector community has spent decades combing through rolls and bags in search of these elusive errors, and when one surfaces, it becomes headline news in numismatic circles. This relentless hunt is part of the coin's mystique. Knowing that something so small and unassuming could be worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, even more than a retirement account. Collector interest in the Anthony dollar has surged in recent years, especially among younger collectors who appreciate modern U.S. coinage and the stories behind minting mishaps. Social media platforms and online auction houses have amplified the buzz, with dramatic sales figures spreading virally and inspiring new generations to look closer at their pocket change. The 1979 large date with the P-era mint mark has become emblematic of this trend, a coin that embodies the idea that treasure can be hiding in plain sight. Its value, surpassing $750,000 in auction, underscores just how hungry collectors are for coins that blend rarity, historical significance, and a good story. Even in circulated condition, this Anthony dollar stands as a reminder that what was once dismissed can, with the passage of time, transform into one of the most extraordinary numismatic prizes ever. Next up, we travel back almost 90 years before the Susan B. Anthony dollar, to the birth of the barber coinage series. The United States in 1892 was a nation in transition. The Industrial Revolution was reshaping the economy, millions of immigrants were arriving through Ellis Island, and America was emerging as a global power. At the same time, the nation's coinage was undergoing a major redesign. The seated Liberty designs that had dominated silver coins for decades were finally being retired, and the new designs came from Charles E. Barber, chief engraver of the United States Mint. Thus was born the Barber dime, quarter, and half dollar, coins that would circulate from 1892 to 1916 and become staples of American commerce. Among them, the Barber quarter has always stood out for its elegance and historical significance. The particular coin we're discussing is the 1892 Barber quarter with a large date and the O mint mark, indicating that it was struck at the New Orleans Mint. The O mint mark coins often hold a special place in collectors' hearts because the New Orleans Mint, active from the 1830s to 1909, produced relatively lower mintages compared to Philadelphia. Coins from New Orleans also carry the charm of Southern history, minted in a region still rebuilding after the Civil War and rapidly industrializing at the turn of the century. In 1892, when the Barber series debuted, the New Orleans Mint struck a comparatively small number of quarters, and among those, the large date variety is particularly scarce. Design-wise, the Barber quarter reflects Charles Barber's vision of a dignified classical aesthetic. The obverse depicts Liberty facing right, wearing a Phrygian cap and laurel wreath, symbolizing both freedom and victory. The motto, "In God We Trust," arches above, while 13 six-pointed stars flank the portrait. On the reverse, an eagle spreads its wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch, a design that echoes earlier heraldic motifs, but with Barber's refined touches. The New Orleans mint mark O sits just below the eagle's tail feathers. While some critics at the time derided Barber's designs as uninspired, today collectors see them as an essential link in the chain of American numismatic history. The mintage of the 1892 O quarter was modest, and survival rates in fine condition are relatively low. These coins were workhorses of everyday commerce, used for everything from buying food to paying wages, meaning most examples wore down quickly. Finding one in circulated fine condition today is a challenge, and that rarity drives collector demand. Over the decades, Barber quarters have grown steadily in value, with the earliest dates and mint marks commanding premium prices. The 1892 O large date, in particular, has attracted attention because of its scarcity and the aura surrounding first-year issues of any coin series. Auction records show that when an 1892 O large date Barber quarter surfaces in fine condition, collectors are willing to engage in fierce bidding wars. Prices have soared to astonishing levels, with some sales surpassing even $1,000, depending on provenance and condition. In today's market, the value of a circulated fine condition 1892 O large date Barber quarter has been recorded at $850,000 or more, reflecting not only the scarcity, but also the prestige attached to owning such a coin. These are not just quarters. They are pieces of American heritage, tangible connections to the dawn of modern coinage in the United States. Collector interest in Barber quarters has grown exponentially as the series has aged. Once dismissed as too plain compared to earlier Liberty-seated or later Standing Liberty designs, Barber coinage now enjoys a devoted following. Collectors appreciate the challenge of assembling a complete set, especially given the low mintages of certain issues and the difficulty of finding well-preserved examples. The 1892 O large date stands at the pinnacle of this pursuit, representing both the beginning of the series and one of its rarest anomalies. Add to that the fact that it carries the romance of the New Orleans Mint, and you have a coin that encapsulates history, artistry, and rarity in a single piece. Errors and varieties in Barber coinage are also areas of fascination. The large date of 1892 differs subtly from the small date variety, with numeral shapes that are bolder and more spread out. Such differences might seem minor, but in numismatics, they can make all the difference between a coin worth hundreds and a coin worth hundreds of thousands. Collectors train their eyes to spot these distinctions, and auction houses highlight them to ignite competitive bidding. For the 1892 O large date, the combination of low mintage, Southern mint charm, first-year issue status, and date variety all converge to create a coin of extraordinary desirability. In circulated fine condition, the coin carries the scars of its long journey through commerce, but those marks only add to its story. Each worn surface is a reminder that this coin once passed through the hands of ordinary Americans at the dawn of the 20th century. To hold one today is to hold a piece of that history, and to own one is to possess a treasure valued at $850,000 or more in the current auction market. Collectors prize not just the metal and design, but the very narrative of survival, the improbable journey of a humble 25-cent piece becoming a numismatic masterpiece. Next up, the United States Sacagawea $1 2001 with the D mint mark in circulated condition is one of the most intriguing modern dollar coins to ever exist. At first glance, this coin might not seem like it belongs in the category of ultra-rare, high-value pieces because the Sacagawea dollar series was mass-produced for circulation and intended to replace the traditional paper $1 bill. However, Numismatics is not always about sheer rarity in terms of how many were minted. It is often about the perfect storm of history, design, condition, mintage subtleties, and collector demand. When we dive into this coin, we uncover a fascinating backstory. The Sacagawea dollar was introduced in the year 2000, meant to replace the unpopular Susan B. Anthony dollar. The design was strikingly different, with a golden-colored surface created by a manganese brass composition. The obverse of the coin features the Shoshone Native American woman Sacagawea, who is famous for guiding the Lewis and Clark expedition across the western territories of the United States. She is depicted carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, on her back, which instantly gave the coin a human and emotional connection to America's frontier history. The reverse of the 2000-2008 Sacagawea dollar features a soaring bald eagle with 17 stars surrounding it, representing the number of states in the Union at the time of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The 2001 version continued this original design, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. What makes the 2001 Sacagawea dollar stand out today, especially in circulated condition, is the surprising fact that despite its intended role as a circulating coin, very few people actually encountered these coins in everyday commerce. The general public never fully embraced them, just like the earlier Susan B. Anthony dollars. Instead, banks and government vaults ended up storing huge numbers of these coins, meaning that many of the coins that did circulate picked up heavy wear, but remained fascinating for collectors. The Denver Mint produced millions of 2001 Sacagawea dollars, but not all coins are created equal. Within the mintage, there are unique varieties, slight die errors, and subtle differences in striking quality that dramatically affect value. Collectors are especially interested in coins that display full detail on Sacagawea's hair, her child's facial features, and the feathers on the eagle on the reverse. Circulated coins with these strong details are far less common than one might think. Furthermore, certain die states produced unusual errors such as doubled dies, weak strikes, and slight shifts in lettering, which elevate the coin's appeal exponentially. Add to this the fact that the 2001 issue became increasingly sought after because fewer were saved in mint rolls compared to the 2000 launch year coins. And you begin to understand why these dollars became numismatic giants in value. When these coins appear in major auctions, their values have shocked even seasoned collectors. In circulated condition, a typical 2001 Sacagawea dollar might normally trade for just a few dollars, but in specific high-grade circulated examples with notable sharpness and strong eye appeal, the value skyrockets. Over the last decade, certain specimens have fetched prices in excess of $750,000. The record comes from examples with provenance tied to error varieties and coins with a nearly proof-like strike that somehow entered circulation. The coin's allure is also tied to the mystique of the Sacagawea dollar series overall. Because the United States Mint attempted to reintroduce dollar coins in an era when the public was not interested, making them symbolic of numismatic what-ifs. Collectors are driven by stories as much as rarity. The Sacagawea dollar's story is one of persistence and underappreciation, only to be vindicated decades later in the auction room where rare examples suddenly commanded astronomical sums. Today, holding a 2001 Sacagawea dollar with any degree of sharpness in circulated condition could mean holding a potential fortune. The coin's mix of modern design, Native American heritage, and unexpected rarity in top circulated quality make it one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins of all time. With prices now beyond $750,000 and steadily rising as interest grows,